Hi, everyone. So nice to see so many familiar faces and many of you in 3D. Just talking to a couple of faculty who I've been talking to for 5-7 years, and I've only just met in person today. And that's really what this meeting is all about, is us meeting and discussing in person. Okay, so I'm going to have a little bit of overlap, but not too much with what Patrick was saying. I just want to give an overview of where we are now, some new developments at CARSI. This is our agenda, by the way. There are paper copies for everybody, but this is the plan of today's event. So CARSI is, of course, made up of the people running research computations on our systems. This is a fairly random selection of the kind of breadth of research we have going on. Susie, of course, doing machine learning on leukemia, but also quantum chemistry. Jeremy Hoekveen, who's doing quantitative psychology from fMRI images. Ahmed Al-Gank doing computational fluid dynamics for nuclear reactor design. Darryl Doman, who you'll hear from a little bit later, doing sequencing of pathogens. And Hua, who you'll hear from as well, with quantum chemistry. And just to highlight, it always blows my mind. So Hua has somehow managed to run 7 millennia of CPU time. Let's just give it applause for 7 millennia of computational time. I double check this number every single time, and it actually is true. It's a lot of computations, a lot of papers came out of this one. And this is, of course, the other side of CARSI. Patrick, we've heard from already. Jose is in the machine room, suffering the cold and the freezing temperatures and the heat. He was complaining we were running benchmarks on our new cluster, and it was getting so hot in there, he was sweating. Hussein, who runs the systems team, and Jim and Troy. Jim has been here for, I think, 25 years, and has all the institutional knowledge that keeps CARSI working well. And Troy, who is, I guess he's been here like 6 or 7 years now, but he has brought a lot of new ideas to the systems team. You know me. And these are the 3 students who do a lot of the work that I claim credit for. So these are a total of 1 FTE of students. They're all brilliant. They're winning awards left and right from School of Engineering. I couldn't be prouder of these students, and I'm just sad that undergraduates have to graduate at some point, because it's going to be hard to replace them. And I wanted to also highlight Nick and JJ. So they are working on the arts and sciences Linux support side, the research computing side, but they also help us a lot with the CARSI support, because there's an overlap there. There's a natural overlap. We're trying to get people to not always build their own clusters in their own offices, but to use CARSI resources that are already there, and they're an essential part of that. Okay, so hardware, of course, is what the center is about, as well as software and people. These are the clusters that exist right now. There's Easily, which is going to be going online, scheduled for May 20th. Hopper, which is our most recent cluster, that's primarily a condo cluster. There's 10 nodes from the Office of the Vice President for Research, but it's so much faster than some of our older clusters like Wheeler that Patrick was talking about, and Xena and Taos. We've seen a lot of people move to Hopper, and even though there are few nodes, got a lot more work done. So Wheeler, for comparison, has had 2,400 cores on 306 nodes and 12 racks. And back of the envelope benchmarking, we never actually ran an HPL on this, is about 25 teraflops. It's just a measure of the total computational power of this cluster. This is Easily. So Easily, instead of being in 12 racks, is in 1 rack right now, when this picture is taken anyway. And we've got 4,000 cores in that 1 rack, because we've got 4 compute nodes per slot, instead of having 1 compute node per slot. And we benchmarked it this morning at 175 teraflops, which is about 7 times the computational power of Wheeler. So I know you all are going to miss Wheeler when it goes away, but we're replacing it with something much better and bigger and faster. And this is not including the H100s and the L40s and all the GPU resources that will be available as well. Just want to give you an idea of the layers of support. So this pyramid is a typical support pyramid. A lot of our questions we get are, how do I get started? I'm a new user. How do I log in? But we go all the way up to the top, where a little bit of our time is spent actually looking at people's code, trying to help them understand why it's breaking. Of course, requires a lot more investment and expertise, and we have fewer requests at that level. But this is the support pyramid, and it's great because we get to see all different levels of support requests. User support and training. These are yearly statistics on the support we've offered. So my students and I had 327 office hour meetings, and this is 2023 numbers, I believe. That's an average of 27 per month. We closed 900 tickets through our help ticket system. Now, a good number of those is not us solving the problem, it's us never hearing from the user again because they figured out something else, or it's just that's how it goes with tickets. We offered more than 20 workshops on intro and also subject matter workshops on crystallography or computational fluid dynamics. We had 53 new research projects, supported 17 courses for a total of 70 new projects. And we offered 2 senior level CS courses on HPC administration. So we have about 50 or 60 students in the computer science primarily department who have graduated and now ready to go on and support the labs and Tesla and Google in their HPC endeavors. Our video tutorials that many are probably aware of, we've been building these over the last 4 or 5 years. We've had 4,000 views and about 300 viewing hours per year. Now, this is helpful for me because every one of these viewing hours is a meeting. Much as I love you all, it's a meeting I didn't have to explain the same thing over and over. I can just point someone to a video and say, yes, this is such a common question. We actually have a whole half-hour video just on that. And these are the workshops. These is just a screenshot of the different topics that we've offered over the past 4 or 5 years. Most of our workshops are beginning, I don't know how to use Linux, or I don't know how to use high-performance computing and Slurm scheduling. But as I said earlier, we go all the way down into crystallography and environmental science. Our most recent workshop was on quantum computing. I want to talk for a second about our publications. So we try to track publications, and we ask you all to put in a magic piece of text that says, we acknowledge CARSI. And then we run a Google Scholar search to fish that out year by year. It's very unreliable. This, when I ran it this morning, said there were 65 publications in 2023. When I ran this in January, it said there were 96. So we don't want to do this anymore, right? This is not the best way to track publications. Instead, these annual reviews are how we accurately track publications, because every year you will log in and you'll be asked to put in BibTeX for every publication, and that seems to be much more accurate than using a Google Scholar search.
Matthew?
Yes.
Just knowing that you can also just drop in the DOI. If you're doing an annual review and you have a publication, if you just drop the DOI link into the publication, it will pull all of the bibliographic information for the entire publication for you. Yeah. You don't have to put the BibTeX entry in or anything else or type out, just like here's the DOI link from from Springer or wherever, paste, submit, done. It's really nice. Really easy.
I have research projects at CARSI, and I get both sides, right? As on the user support side, I'm ecstatic this is happening, it's great. And then my turn came around to actually do the report, and I thought, what? I don't want to do this. I have to look at my grants, I have to look at my publications. This sucks, but it helps us. So if you're anybody, a student or faculty, and you log in and you see a message like this, and it says, to access Xena or whatever cluster, please make sure you're in a project that has Xena or whatever cluster. That's your indication that your project is likely expired. So I get lots of screenshots. This is a screenshot that a user sent me saying, why can't I log in? It's likely you have to talk to your PI and get them to refresh their allocations. So I just want to be really clear. This is just data from our first round of expirations, because most of our projects, let's see, our oldest projects have a date of March 25th, 2024. So they're coming due now, right? So this is not all of our projects, just the first round. And we already have 130 publications reported, right? That's not all just last year, but this, shows the line to the Google search I was doing. Now, that might be that people don't necessarily put in the acknowledgement, or maybe it's just Google's gotten bad for some reason of finding these. this is much, much better of a number for us. So please put it in your publications. This is data we've never had before, as far as I know. Again, this is just for March, but we have $38 million of grants reported associated with the projects that we support. And you all understand how grants work. This is not, lots of nuances to that number, but this is really pretty interesting for us, especially the breakdown between NIH and NSF. How am I doing on time?
1:15.
Let's see. I'm going to skip over. This is just showing the diversity of the number of accounts we have. So we have on the books something like 3,000 CARSI accounts. We estimate, or rather, Colfront estimates that 789 users are active. That is, they have active allocations, and 180 of our 300 and so PIs are active at the moment. Across many different disciplines. There were a couple of lessons learned from this first round of project renewals. They were both to do with email. One, we did not have all the PIs on the mailing list, so I had to scramble and add everybody. I did that on April 2nd and send an email to everybody, letting them know, hey, you might be seeing expiration soon. And Colfront is supposed to email all users when their allocations expire. And we discovered it had not been doing that for the previous 2 months. That has now been fixed as well. So communication was an issue, and I think many PIs were a little bit surprised that they had to go in and suddenly renew their projects. All right, I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to turn it over to Hussein and Anneliese, who are going to talk about the system side and the business side.
Can you go to slide 8 where you have the easy. Oh, Matthew? Yeah. Can you go back to the computer slide?
Yeah.
This one? No, 8. The one bottom. This one? Yeah. Great.
Hi everyone. So Anneliese, she is our senior business manager at CARSI, and she got promoted to this position last year, like at the perfect timing when we were starting to buy our new supercomputer. I'm Hussein Al-Azzawi. I'm the systems team manager. And
yeah, we're really excited to introduce our new system. I have a slide that talks about a little bit about our purchasing in the last year. And things that we're working on right now, but I figured that you could also talk about the technical specs and what that means, insofar as Patrick hasn't already.
so as Matthew had in a previous slide, we have about 3.3 systems staff running the supercomputers, and that's all the FTE that we have running all of these systems. And so I would say it's part of my time. I run the storage and virtualization environment for CARSI and also networks. Jim and Troy, they run the HPC systems. They also do security for us. Yes.
Please read mine.
Oh, okay. So, yep. So we have. Jim and Troy, they are our senior HPC managers. Both of them, they are running the systems. They also handle security areas at the center. I myself, I'm the team manager, but I'm also running virtualization and storage. And actually, I run it with Orlando, who's the senior systems team lead at the libraries. And then we have Jose, who's doing all the magic, assembling all of these machines in our data center, and he keeps track of all of our systems. I have another team that is composed of Nick and JJ. Raise your hands. So JJ in the back, Nick is over here. And the idea of this team is new. It's supporting research computing across campus. And the idea came from Patrick working with the VPR and the ADR of arts and sciences. And they were like, hey, let's come up with a team that bridges the gap between researchers and their departments and bringing what we could bring or what should run on supercomputers can be migrated And then this team is still expanding. We support 4 departments right now in the college, and we are taking on biology very soon. And if any college would like to expand our services, the way that the VPR figures the deal is the department or the college will try to hire 1 person, like they provide the line for 1 FTE, and then our center will provide the other line for an additional FTE that will match them and expand the team.
So if you guys wouldn't mind switching over to the finance slide.
Which one? It's finance slide?
I think I sent it this morning.
Oh.
Did it make it into the slide deck?
Yeah.
Dang.
Sorry about that.
No, I can also just spitball off of what we're working on. And so my name is Anneliese Ford. He said I came in at the perfect time to help with the RFP. And in some ways it was a great learning experience for me. So I was able to help out with the purchasing of the I think it ended up being $25 million system, which is now going to be easily, it should be coming up soon. We should have beta users on in the next month, 2 months.
No, so we are actually trying to open it on May 20th. So we are trying to open the new cluster on May 20, at least for our first batch of users. Matthew, like if you're interested, you can reach out to Matthew and he will make the arrangements for you to start running on it. Now on the purchase itself, it was a lot of money. It was so many vendors. It was an RFP. So you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, sure. So we had to do an RFP process, and this was funded off of 2 grants. One of them is through the Department of Education.
What is an RFP?
And an RFP is a request for purchase. And so,
Because you can't see the slides up.
oh, awesome. So it is a request for purchase, where we basically say, hey, we have this pool of money. This is what we need. Anybody who's interested in providing that hardware to us, please feel free to throw your hat in the ring and we'll look over the hardware configuration, see how it works with our current center configuration, and essentially choose what the best configuration is for our money. Now, in this case, we had stipulated that the storage could be purchased separately from the compute. And initially we were like, oh, that's probably not going to happen, but you know, we may as well leave our options open. And that is what ended up happening. And so we are currently working with Dell through A&M on the compute side because they provided the best compute for the money, and then IBM on the storage side because they provided a really state-of-the-art system that we think will integrate well with our current system. And so this process took us quite some time to complete, and it's super exciting seeing all the boxes come in and being able to kind of move forward with this. There was one point at which I was helping with another event and I get a call from Hussein and he's like, hey, we have so many boxes in the machine room, we can't open the doors. What do I do about this? And I was like, well, that's an interesting problem I haven't encountered before, but it's good to see so much moving. And so we started getting all the parts, all the storage systems. We've had a couple bumps along the way. Quite literally, we had one box come in crushed and we had to like examine it for any issues. And so it's one of those things where it's been a bit of a slow process, but it's also been a lot of fun. And it honestly feels like it's become kind of like the baby of Car C, where it's like everybody's working on this project. And so it's been very exciting. Something else that we've had to do this year is to make quick administrative kind of adaptations, especially regarding the state of, I guess, higher education administration in general. Patrick touched on this a bit with changes to the F&A rates and rulings. I'm on the research administrators listserv, and every week I get a, what does this mean for you, like summary from them. And so I appreciate that as a resource, but it's definitely been a bit of a challenge and I think will continue to be, but I mean, we're keeping ahead of it and we're trying to adapt as best we can as a center. So that's been very rewarding. We've also been creating workforce development opportunities for students. Matthew has been teaching an HPC class, partially off the Department of Education grant that also funded our new cluster. And so that's been a great opportunity. And we started branching out our workshops as well, with our recent quantum workshop being quite the success, as I hear. And in collaboration as well with Quantinium and no, what does the other school?
Oh, and this.
NMSU, yes, thank you. And last but not least, we've been partnering with other institutions and private industry. There's been some talk of a partnership initiative with CNM to help bridge the gap between their quantum program and actual real life use case. We've been working with Quantinium to kind of expand our reach into quantum computing spaces. And we've been working with NMSU as well to just kind of share that knowledge and information around. So ultimately, it's been a really successful year. And hopefully we'll have another successful year coming and a few changes to work around things, but I think that the center is in good shape. And now to you.
Can we go back to your slide about the cluster? So I would like to add that we are working with AWS to bring cloud bursting into our new machines. And one of the challenges that we've been experiencing is at the end, we have limited resources at our center. So if somebody is on a deadline or they need more resources for a very short time, what do you do? And the idea is that we figured out a way, and AWS made it much easier compared to other competitors in the market, where you need to add a few more scripts, and that would create a new AWS queue that you would just see as any other queues on, say, on Hopper. And then you can submit to these queues, and the accounting will be done directly. So CARSI is just like we are the middleman connector. We don't handle any of the accounting. Your AWS ID will be in these scripts, and it will charge you based on that. Now the trick is you want to make sure that you are ending your sessions correctly, or you will continue to be charged. And as we see it, this new machine, it has 62 nodes. It's almost the same size as Hopper. We started building Hopper in 22. I think it came online like August 22. And you already see how it is double the size. And if you go to the next, yes. So in this rack, what you see is the base compute nodes. So each one of these guys, it has 4 servers in the back. They are the base compute nodes. And that's how we can fit so many of these. So there is 48 nodes all squished in this one rack. And this rack has the GPU nodes. What you're looking at here is the L40S GPU nodes. Each one of these has 4 GPUs. And then these nodes are the H196, M100. And then at the top, we have the login node and the management node for SAM. And then the network in the back, it's in the top. You won't see much of it. The core speed of the InfiniBand network is 800G. And then we are using split cables to the compute nodes, and we are connecting at 200G each node. And storage will be connected at 200G. We added a new IBM storage system, and this is the first time that we ever have a Scratch that is all flash. So it's a 720 terabytes all flash system. I was supposed to be hosting the IBM engineers tomorrow, but then we had to shuffle them because we have an engineer from NetApp. So we have 2 storage systems mainly now at CARSI that are coming online. And you had no idea that this is happening in the background. We did it all hot, live. No one would notice anything. But we upgraded and replaced all of our home directories on project space at CARSI. So Orlando and I, we've been working on it for like 3-4 weeks now. And we are continuing. But the problem is the vendor's engineer is retiring on May 2nd. And we had to shuffle him with IBM. So we are doing the work with him this week and next week. And then IBM's work will come around like early mid-May. And what will happen is Matthew might have easily to start working on and open it for his users, but I wouldn't have my Scratch file system ready. Now, the solution is we could have the CARSI Scratch mounted on the Ethernet network.
And so that's kind of the state of the center. We're really looking forward to what the next year brings, getting easily online and getting users on there and running their jobs. And yeah, we're doing our best in kind of interesting times. But at the same time, we're so happy to have the support of our users behind us. So thank you all so much for coming today and for listening to what we've accomplished in the last year.
And just
I think the slide say 1.2 million. The purchase ended up becoming closer to 2.2 to $3 million.
Yeah, it was definitely more expensive
Yeah.
than we had anticipated.
We're right on schedule, but are there any questions for Percy personnel? Yes.
So, Wheeler traditionally was one of the more open clusters and stuff like you could run out there compared to things like Xena, which were a little more restricted.
Yeah.
Is Easily going to be similar? Like, if keep this interested, if you're standing down Wheeler's replaced with Easily, with projects that had Wheeler resources, be able to just get
Yes.
swap over to Easily resources and run their jobs there.
Right. So we're going to control access because it's heterogeneous hardware. We're going to control access to the GPUs with their own partitions, no queues. So the CPUs will be general access. The large memory nodes and the GPUs, we may require that it be some mention that you want to use GPUs in your project description, because what we see a lot, and the reason we restricted Xena is that there are a lot of CPUs there, and people who weren't able to run on Wheeler because it was full would just go and use the CPUs on Xena, and then people who really needed the GPUs on Xena were locked out. So that's why we restricted. Yeah.
See if that was the same case for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so-
the bar is very low.
We might have to manage based on like cores instead of nodes.
Yeah.
So we might just like have minor changes as in how do you submit your jobs. But other than that, this machine should be open to all users.
Okay.
It's also designed as a combo machine. So as a PI, you can add more nodes to this machine. And then these nodes you would have first dibs to that, just like on Hoppers. But in Hopper, we only have 10 nodes owned by Carson, so it's a small percentage of the machine. It's like a set of the machine. But in Easily, we own most of it, except I would say maybe 4 nodes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on to our research talks? No? Okay. Yeah.
So the new updates that we all submitted, and you gave really good figures for sort of how many papers and how many grants and everything. You said that they'd be helpful. Is that because upper administration is requesting that, or what are you using them for?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a director question for sure.
And every year I put together an annual report to the VPR that described what our, contributions, as a center were, and we're a research university, and so the coin of the realm is publications, right? Publications, citations, and funding, right? If I can go to the VPR and say, here's the funding you provided for us, here were the, hundreds of publications and the students supported and the classes taught and the grants applied for and the grants received, that's what Ellen wants to see. And so the better we can get that, the more we can see that, the more we can display that, the easier it is for us to convey the value of what you do and what we do together to Ellen, to James, and from them to HED and to the legislature and to the governor and to everyone else involved in the whole enterprise. And so I'm a PI, right? And I write grants and I write proposals and I write project reports, and they're a pain in the neck. We all, and I would love to be able just to pull all this stuff from Orchid. And I think we'll start, we're requesting Orchid IDs from people as well. So maybe we can do more of that in the future and just pull publications from Orchid as opposed to making you type all this stuff in. So you just keep your Orchid IDs up to date. We see the publications and we see the proposals there. You don't have to enter it directly. That'd be great. But for now, this is the best we can do, and it helps us a lot. It helps me a lot when I'm having to talk to, to administration to say, here's where you are. Here's what we get from the investment you make to support all of you.
I can add to that just real quick. So it's super important for admin, sure. It's also important for us, right? I mean, without this, we're sort of in a black box where we don't really know what you're doing. I know who's coming to me and asking me, how do I run? But I love being able to see the actual publications that came out of it, right? And really understand research output, that's really motivating for the whole team. I talked to a lot of other HPC folks. Some places just record every publication from every PI in their system. We want to be more targeted, right? We want to actually know what you're publishing is HPC RC related. But yeah, it's helpful all levels. So we really appreciate it, even though I know it is a pain.
And we're trying to make it as non-painful as possible,
Yeah.
right? So
Oh,
that's why I think
yeah,
it's
no, I
so-
mean, I didn't know if there was more pushback, like get this to us.
No, there's, no, this is something that we are trying to collect to make their lives easier. Right, and it makes my life easier doing it, but there's no, get us this information or else going on. It's, it's very helpful if you can tell us these kinds of things. And, I think, like Matthew said, we can get the publication we know the PIs, we know the students, we can construct large convoluted Google searches and say, here are all the publications that had someone's name on it last year. Especially for things like awards. That's really, this is really helping the show. And students graduate, right? It's like on research outputs, if we can say it, and here's the students that the theses that were generated, the students that were placed, the students went to universities. They're really, and like I said, I said in my talk, here are the kinds of projects that we see coming across the board, and I always get excited about that. Publications, I get a real kick out. Here's all the work that you all are doing is really exciting. And it's not just exciting to me, right? So when I can give that list of publications to Ellen and she sees Nature and Science and all these great high impact publications, and wow, that's really cool. Right? And she can reflect that, up the chain as well. It helps. Even though reporting is a pain. It's weird.